This reflection explores the transformative power of living a slow and simple life, particularly for those in the later stages of life who have witnessed the rapid changes brought about by modern consumerism. The narrative is framed by the recognition that the relentless pursuit of material possessions, which once seemed to signify success, now often appears empty, especially as we gain the wisdom that comes with age. 1. Reevaluating consumerism in later years. As we grow older, our relationship with material things begins to change. In our youth, society conditioned us to believe that acquiring more possessions equated to success. We were bombarded with advertisements, each one telling us that happiness and fulfillment could only be achieved through consumption. The newest gadget, the most luxurious car, the trendiest clothes, all these things were marketed as the keys to happiness. However, with age comes perspective. Many of us realize that true happiness doesn't come from what we own. As we look back on decades of change, we see that the endless pursuit of material wealth has not fulfilled our deeper needs. While society continues to push consumerism at every turn, the constant demand to buy more no longer resonates the way it once did. Instead, there's a growing awareness that opting out of this race is not only possible but desirable. 2. Clearing out clutter, a personal journey. Years ago, I made a significant change in my life. I sold my large home and downsized, moving into a narrowboat. For those unfamiliar with narrowboats, they're long but very narrow, only about 50 feet long and less than 7 feet wide. This drastic change in living space forced me to reassess my relationship with the possessions I had accumulated over the years. At first, the process of deciding what to keep and what to let go of felt overwhelming. I had boxes of things I hadn't used in years and, in some cases, didn't even remember owning. The realization that I owned 5 coffee makers was a stark example of how much excess I had allowed into my life. As I began to shed these material items, something unexpected happened. I felt lighter. Letting go of things wasn't just about creating more physical space. It was about releasing emotional and psychological burdens as well. Moving into that smaller, simpler space gave me a sense of freedom I hadn't felt in years. Downsizing wasn't about deprivation. It was about creating space for what truly mattered. Even if you're not planning a dramatic move like mine, I encourage you to try simplifying your surroundings. Go through your home and remove the things you no longer need or use. It's amazing how much clarity and peace can come from having less clutter, both in your physical space and in your mind. 3. Embracing capitalism with caution. I'm not against capitalism. It's a system that works in many ways, providing goods and services that make our lives easier. When someone bakes a loaf of bread and sells it for a bit more than it costs to make, that's fair. They've done the work, and I'm happy to pay for the convenience. But there's a fine line between consuming for necessity and getting trapped in a cycle of consumption for its own sake. The beauty of capitalism lies in its competitiveness. If one company charges too much, another will step in with a lower price. But this competitive drive can also foster a culture of relentless consumption, pushing us to always seek the next product, trend, or fleeting pleasure. As we age, we begin to recognize that the things we thought we needed weren't truly necessary. Life is not about owning the latest phone or wearing the fanciest clothes. It's about the relationships we build, the experiences we cherish, and the quiet moments of reflection. 4. Living simply in a complex world. Choosing to live a slower, less materialistic life means stepping off the consumer treadmill that most people are caught on. Society constantly encourages us to buy more, do more, and chase more. However, choosing to live differently allows us to experience life in a more intentional way. Instead of always striving for more, we begin to appreciate what we already have. The simple pleasures of life, like the sound of leaves rustling in the wind or the warmth of the sun on your skin, become more noticeable when you're not preoccupied with the next purchase or distraction. These experiences offer a richness that material possessions cannot. Living simply doesn't mean depriving yourself. Instead, it's about making intentional choices that bring you joy and letting go of the things that don't. While it may seem unconventional in today's fast-paced world, slowing down and consuming less can lead to a deeper sense of fulfillment and happiness. You might feel like an outsider at first, but the peace you gain from living more mindfully far outweighs any discomfort that comes from going against the grain. 5. Appreciating the little things. As we age, the things that bring us joy often become simpler. The grand experiences we once sought no longer hold the same allure, and instead, we find happiness in the little things. Sipping a cup of tea on a crisp morning, spending time with loved ones, or watching birds outside the window. These small, quiet moments become the true treasures of life. When you step away from the pressure to consume, you begin to see the value in things that don't have a price tag. You might take up gardening, start reading more, or revisit a hobby you've long neglected. These simple pleasures, free from the distractions of modern consumer culture, can sustain you in ways that material possessions never could. 6. Resisting the pull of consumerism. Even after making the decision to live a slower, simpler life, you'll still face temptations. The pull of consumerism is strong, and it's easy to get caught up in sales, advertisements, and the urge to buy something new just because it feels good in the moment. We've all logged onto websites like Amazon, not intending to buy anything, but finding ourselves filling our carts with items we don't really need. This is the seduction of consumerism, convincing us that we need things we don't. The good news is that the more you practice resisting these urges, the easier it becomes. Start small by going a day without buying anything, then 2 days, and eventually a week. Over time, you'll find that the desire to constantly consume fades, and you'll feel more content with what you already have. 7. Filling the void with meaningful activities. When you stop spending so much time and money on buying things, you'll find that you have more space in your life, both physically and mentally. The key is to fill that space with activities that bring you joy and meaning. Maybe you'll take up a new hobby, spend more time with your grandchildren, or devote more energy to something you've always enjoyed but never fully pursued. When you're no longer focused on acquiring things, you can focus on doing things that nourish your soul. These activities, though simple, are incredibly rewarding and don't require you to open your wallet. 8. The challenges of living differently. Living a slow, simple life in a fast-paced, consumer-driven world isn't without its challenges. You may encounter resistance from others, or even from within yourself. We've been conditioned to equate success and happiness with material wealth, and letting go of that belief can be difficult. Society pushes us to consume because it benefits those in power. The more we spend, the more they gain. Choosing to step outside the system means going against the grain, which can be uncomfortable. You might feel isolated or misunderstood, especially when friends and family continue living in a way that no longer resonates with you. But the discomfort is temporary, and the rewards of living in alignment with your values are profound. 9. Financial freedom through simplicity. One of the greatest benefits of living a slow life is the financial freedom it brings. When you stop buying things you don't need, you start saving money, and that money can be used for the things that truly matter. Whether it's traveling to see family, investing in your health, or simply building a financial cushion for peace of mind in later years, living simply reduces the financial pressure many of us feel. Instead of working to maintain a lifestyle based on consumption, you can focus on enjoying the fruits of your labor and the things that bring you real joy. You may even find that you need less income than you thought to live a fulfilling life. 10. Reflecting on life's journey. As we age, reflection becomes a natural part of life. We look back on the choices we've made, the experiences we've had, and the lessons we've learned. Living a slow, simple life provides a space for meaningful reflection. When I reflect on my own journey, I don't regret the things I didn't buy or the trends I didn't follow. What I cherish are the moments spent with loved ones, the experiences of quiet joy, and the sense of peace that comes from living in alignment with my values. I've made mistakes along the way, but I wouldn't change a thing. The path I've chosen, slow and intentional, has brought me a level of contentment that no amount of material possessions ever could. 11. Leaving a legacy of simplicity. As we reach the later stages of life, many of us begin to think about the legacy we'll leave behind. For me, it's not about leaving behind material wealth or possessions. It's about leaving behind the values I've lived by: simplicity, mindfulness, and an appreciation for the things that truly matter. I hope that my children and grandchildren will learn from my example, not by the things I owned, but by the way I chose to live. I hope they'll see that happiness doesn't come from having more, but from appreciating the simple joys of life. And I hope they'll carry that lesson forward, finding their own,